Not that his hair was white, even though it is white, but the word wool here does not imply white because it doesn't say it's white. The word wool here is the texture of the hair of the Most High. And as you've heard Elder Apostle Tar go over it over and over again, time and time again, that you have different types of wool. There's black wool, there's brown wool, there's white wool, there's a mixture of different colors. That's why when the Lord said, if you come to bring a lamb to the Lord, it's got to be 1 year old. It can't have any spots or blemishes in it. It has to be pure. All right, so the Lord's hair is pure wool. And of course, being the Ancient of Days, he's going to have a hoary head, but the word wool here does not imply white. It's talking about the texture. So when Daniel saw the Lord, he saw the texture of his hair. All right, so you could understand. It says, his throne was like the fiery flame and his wheels as burning fire. That represents the chariots. All right, so now let's go from there. Let's go to the book of Revelation 13. I mean, some of this is basic. Some of it is a little bit more advanced. But, the students out there that have been learning, you get the basics, get cemented in the basics, and then you're going to need some meat every once in a while. So Revelation 13, we'll start at the first verse. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, this is the Apostle John speaking, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea. So you can keep it in context. There's no such beast as a beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. But when the Apostle John saw this, he actually saw an actual beast. This is what he actually saw. He wrote what he saw. But the thing is that this beast that he saw in a vision actually represented empires of Esau. This is why it was called a red beast or a scarlet colored beast, which is red. And the 7 heads represented the 7 major empires of Esau. When Esau started ruling the planet during the time of the Greeks, they'll say history began with the Greeks. History did not begin with the Greeks, because you have the Sumerian Empire, you have the Babylonian Empire, you have the Egyptian Empire, you had many other empires in the past that ruled before there was any Greek Empire. Because those lands in Europe, Macedonia, Greece, Italy, and all those different empires, before they ruled, they were inhabited by dark-skinned, Japhetic people. All right? Such as the Etruscans. When you look up the Etruscans are brown-skinned people. You have something called the Picts, which there was a shortened form of pictorial. Pictorial people were called that way because of the Romans, because they used to put tattoos on their bodies. When you look at these Polynesian, so-called Polynesian people, these are the ancient sons and daughters of Japheth, not the so-called white man, because that's another fallacy. They'll tell you that Japheth was a so-called white people. No, they were not, because the so-called white man did not inhabit the land known as Europe today. They came out of Mount Seir, all right, which is south, of Jerusalem. All right, they were in Mount Seir. All right, these are the Edomites. Their nationality is Edomites. The word Edom means red, and this is why this was a scarlet colored beast. So they'll tell you that civilization started with the Greeks, but no, the Edomite civilization started with the Greeks. And there were 7 major empires that ruled: the Greeks, the Romans, then you had the French, you had the Spanish, you had the Germanian Major, Germanian Minor, and then you had Britain. And out of Britain came America. America would be the 8th, which is of all 7 of them. All right? So back in Revelation 13:1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Yeah, because they say they're the Christians, they say they're the Most High, they're Yahushua. Yahushua was crucified in this country by putting up a picture of a white, so-called white image of the Son of the Lord, which he's not a so-called white man with leprosy. That's how they crossed him out here. All right? And you still have individuals out there invoking those names, so-called Jesus and so-called Christ, which is fully crossing the Lord out. Because whenever somebody thinks of those names, they're thinking about a so-called white man. All right? So it goes on to say, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. So now we're going all the way back to the beginning of the beast. The leopard is who? That represents the Greek Empire, which represents the first king, which is Alexander, what they call Alexander the Great. Now, before we read on, let's get that. Let's show you that. Let's go to 1 Maccabees 1:1. Because you'll go to Daniel 8, but Daniel 8 doesn't really break, it doesn't give you the name. And 1 Maccabees 1:1, it gives you the name. It says, and this is in the Apocrypha. The word Apocrypha, APO, means to send, and Krypha, where you get the word cryptic, is hidden. To send hidden. Apocrypha, to send hidden. 1 Maccabees 1:1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip. So this Alexander is what they call Alexander the Great. His father was Philip II. You know, he conquered many lands, but his son was written in the prophecy that he would be the one to conquer the known world at the time. And he did that by unifying all those Greek city-states to bring them under one banner. All right, to be able to come together as one so that they can go and conquer these dark nations. It says, and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, which Kittim is, I believe that Cyprus today is an island. It was called Kittim at one time, but then they changed the name. I believe that's Cyprus, if I'm not mistaken. It says, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, because at the time when the Greeks started to gain ground as an empire, the Persians were ruling. And they would start lunacy, madness, to fight against the Persians, because the Persians had many different armies and nations fighting in their army. All right, so it would start crazy because they had a great, you know, they were rich and they had a great army. So when the Greeks fought against them, it was considered to be suicide. Right? It says, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece. So he was the first over Greece. And when you read Daniel the 8th chapter, it tells you that. It says, and made many wars and won many strongholds and slew the kings of the earth. So at that time, he was crowned with the empire of the Greeks. And he, you know, was, for lack of words, he would be the king of kings at that time. Because the Persians, the Medes, they were the king of kings at one time. Just like Nebuchadnezzar at one time was a king of kings. So every empire that conquered the other empires, they took the head position. And this is what Yahushua is coming to do when he comes back. So now when we jump down to the 7th verse, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died, because he died as a young man. He died around the age of 32 or so. It took him 12 years to conquer the world, and then after that he died. You know? And then it says, and his servants bear rule everyone in his place, right? Because he had subordinates, which were generals, as Ptolemy, Seleucus, Cassander, Lysimachus, Antigonus, and others. He had many generals, but there were 4 main generals that took over his empire, and they split the empire up amongst themselves. You had the Seleucids, the Ptolemies, you had you had Cassander, and you had Lacedaemon. The kingdom was pretty much divided among them. Antigonus had a part in it, but his part was taken away because some of those kings came together to fought against him, to take his, half or his piece of the pie, so to speak, because there was really four main ones. It says, and after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, right? And this is when the Greeks, or that what they say civilization started with the Greeks. This is when they first took over the empire, right? It says, so did their sons after them many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Why? Because the Edomites took control of the world, and from that time, evils multiplied in the earth. Let's go real quick to Proverbs 29 and 16. When the wicked are multiplied, transgression increaseth, but the righteous shall see their fall. So we're at the position now to see them falling. Yahushua said, I seen Satan as lightning fall from heaven, because he actually saw the Edomites falling. When the scriptures say that Satan and his angel were cast out of heaven, the average Christian out there thinks about so-called Lucifer and the angels being cast out with him. Lucifer is not Satan. Lucifer is a word that means illuminated ones, or light bearer, or dawn bearer. This is a name given to the so-called Illuminati, which the word Illuminati means enlightened ones, or light bearers. Okay, when Isaiah seen this, him being cast out of heaven, that was Esau and his military being knocked out of the skies. Their planes, helicopters, drones, or whatever the case may be, being knocked out of the sky by Yahushua and the angels. To get a little better understanding on that, you can read the book of 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, and it speaks about Yahushua coming in this gigantic ship, and the armies of the world and their technology fighting against the Lord, and the Lord just wiping them out to where it was nothing left but dust. That's what it means. I seen Satan as lightning fall from heaven. All right. So when these devils took over, they multiplied, transgressions multiplied, they increased. And you can see it from then to now, how much devious, perverse the world has become, demoralized. And it's a cesspool. The world has become a cesspool. It was already effed up, but it's gotten worse since the Edomites took over. And it's gotten progressively worse as the years and centuries, and millenniums rolled on. All right? Now, let's go from there. Let's go back to Revelation 13.